My dad is going to go ahead and give his father of the bride speech to my sister and Garrett.
All right, so I've been thinking about this for a while, so I'm just going to work through this, how I was going to approach this. So I want to get a few things out of the way. First of all, thank you, everyone, for being here to celebrate Garrett and Emily. For those that know me, my family, there's a good chance I've said inappropriate things before. So if I say anything inappropriate tonight, you're used to that. For those that don't know me, if I say anything inappropriate to offend you, then I guess that really didn't impact my life, so there's maybe in this life. For my 3 children here that are not married, you should be incredibly nervous, because this is my first attempt at this, and based off of how it goes, I may double down next time, so good luck. So I've thought a lot about how I was going to have this speech. I've known Emily and Garrett got married in February 8th. I found out because it's on the cup. I was there for the record, but I wasn't sure how I was going to do this, if I was going to make it emotional, make it basically like a roast. I did actually think about having simply a postcard with the word Garrett on here and pretend I didn't actually know who he was. I didn't go that route. But I've had 3 months to think about this, and for the record, I finished this today and printed it out. All right, so what I've decided to do, as opposed to kind of going through her life, I just decided to bucket a few things. Talk about early Emily, and then a few things that still make me laugh when I think about them, and then kind of who she's become as she's gotten older. And my main goal is to not cry in front of everyone, so we'll see how that goes. So the first thing is, and Veronica, for the record, I did reach out to you and you gave me some information, but if I say anything wrong, just let me know. But I'll do my best. So the first thing I remember about Emily, she was incredibly happy and an incredibly low maintenance baby. When she was born, I truly don't remember Emily crying. I remember holding her. I was very purposeful having to hold her. I would walk around and carry her like a little football in my arm just to because she didn't cry. She slept all the time. To be fair, her older sister cried continuously for 9 months. So she set the bar very low. But that's how I remember Emily. And there's a couple of other things that really stuck out to me when Emily was young. And one of those was the girls were at my apartment, and I'd given them like popsicles or something like that. And Emily was out on the balcony and she had a popsicle. And she comes inside, and she was probably, I'm guessing she was 3 years old maybe, approximately. And she was like, hey, can you come outside with me? So I walk out with her on the balcony, and she's just holding onto my finger, and we're just sitting there with popsicles. We're not talking, we're not doing anything, we're just kind of looking out. And I was confused, I didn't understand what that request was. Again, it's the very opposite of what her sister required. So that was very, very different for me. And then there's one other thing that jumps out, and I feel like I can tell this story now. It's been long enough, but there was an incident when I was at my apartment. I had the girls, and we were down by the pool, and I was down there, and I was reading some book, and the girls were in the kiddie pool. And again, Emily was 3 years old, so Elizabeth would have been 5. And I wasn't there to swim, so I was fully clothed, just reading something. And Amy was in the pool, but she was on the ledge where she could stand up on, and she fell into the pool, and I wasn't watching. And so when I look up, she was dog paddling, and she was actually underwater a little bit. But even then, she was smiling, which was very confusing. So I jumped into the water, fully clothed, and grabbed her and took her out of the water. FYI, Veronica, she almost drowned at my apartment when she was there. So then Emily grew up and became, I have the word headstrong here. It was mixed. I wasn't sure if headstrong was the right word, passionate. So it was mixed on that. So we'll call it headstrong. And if anyone's ever debated any dog stuff with her, or any of her Facebook posts, or any of the other things that she does, you'll understand what I'm talking about. And then she certainly has a temper that she didn't necessarily have when she was younger. I'd like to blame that one on Veronica, but I'll take half the credit on that one. But it's a lot of fun. There's a couple things I want to share that were frustrations, but they're also fun memories now. When Emmy was probably 10 years old, I'm guessing, and I'm guessing that because the twins were just born, so they're almost 15, so that makes you, I guess you were about 10. She went to take her shower, and we had a smaller house, and that meant a smaller hot water heater, so I was very frustrated when anyone took too long a shower. Emily went to take a shower, and she was gone for what seemed like an hour. And so finally I went to check. I'm like, Emmy, what's going on? And she's like, I'm almost done. And I knock on the door, I come in, and Emmy's just sitting there with a stack of books reading. She's actually not started taking a shower yet. She loved reading. Another one that's very interesting, and I still don't understand this concept, most kids when they turn 16 get their driver's license. Not Emily. There was no need to, so she just wouldn't get her driver's license, and it was very frustrating. And finally I was like, Emmy, get your driver's license. I'm tired of driving back and forth from your mom's house. I'm sure she's tired of driving you around. So finally, at the age of 17, she got her driver's license. Not because we wouldn't let her, just because she didn't. So I'm still a little bitter about that one. I just want to mention that. And this one, I've been thinking about how I want to tell this one because it's really hard to even process. This was one that Veronica, I already had on my list to talk about, and Veronica actually sent this one to me, so I'm going to tell hers first. But so I said, hey, are there any things that really jump out to you? And she said, yes, one of the many times, many in all caps to be very clear, we got to Saltgrass, got out of the car, and Emily had no shoes on, and there were no shoes in the car. So that's many times. The funny thing about that was on my list. The one that really sticks out is we got to Don Pablo's, and we get out of the car, Emmy gets out of the car, and she has no shoes on. And I'm like, Emmy, where are your shoes? She's like, looks confused, like, what do you mean? And I was frustrated, I was embarrassed, and I didn't want to go back home. So my solution was to pick her up and kind of hold her on my hip and just walk in and pretend she was a toddler. So that was my solution. To be fair, it's hard to hold a 13-year-old and pretend like you're a toddler. All right, so one of the things that I really love about Emily, and I guess I've known this, but I really didn't know this until I kind of started working through this. I love how independent Emily is. She's really lived her life the way she wants to. She didn't conform to what's considered normal. She's done her own thing. Not out of rebellious, but just because that's who she is. And I love that she's had that wherewithal to do that. And that kind of leads to the next couple of things, and I feel like it's very correlated. Emily has an amazing love for outdoors. The first time I took the girls to New Mexico, she was about 4 years old, and she just was in her element. She loved it from the day we got out there. I know she went to Colorado with Veronica and Scott when she was young, and she loved that. She's gone there with Garrett, but Emmy would do anything she can outdoors. And another story that I wasn't aware of, actually, Veronica shared with me, is they were in Taos, and they went climbing up a mountain. And on the way up, Veronica and Natalie kind of got done, but Emmy wanted to keep going. So after a very long period of time, it's starting to get dark, so Veronica makes the decision to start walking downhill, or down the mountain with Natalie, assuming that once she gets down, she'll have to send a ranger after Emily. As they're walking down, Emily shows up and catches up with him and was happy as can be, like nothing was wrong. So she was just in her element. She's always been that way. Even just a few years ago on your birthday, you went camping alone up in Oklahoma with your dog, which I find weird, but that's what she did. All right, so then the next thing, and this is a huge one because I think this is what has led us here to tonight. Emmy has an amazing love for animals. Some real, some not so real. This is sort of related, but I feel like I've watched Winnie the Pooh more than any human should have to watch Winnie the Pooh. Luckily for me, Emmy grew up in a time where it was transitioning from VHS to DVD, and the tape broke, and I didn't replace that. Emmy's first word that I can remember, and I was texting Veronica today, and thank you, Scott, for confirming this, because I'm getting old and have 4 kids, so it all blends together. Emmy's first word that she could spell was unicorn, which Again, makes no sense. But she loved unicorns. Thought they were the greatest. In fact, she had this custom-made unicorn Halloween costume, and I don't remember who made it for you, but what's that? Okay, someone we knew. I don't know who it was, right? Okay. Okay. Lisa Greeny from Fidelity made you that costume. She wore the heck out of that, way longer than she should have, but she loved that unicorn costume. Going back to the reading thing, Emily read a lot. She loved horses, she loved dogs, she loved everything animal related. So at one point, Veronica signed her up for horseback riding lessons, and the first lesson, she was just a natural, and the lady made a comment like, she's a natural at this, and you know, our response was, well, she's been reading about horses and dreaming about horses forever, so she was just amazing at it. I actually remember one time, and I don't know how old you were when I did this, for whatever reason I was flipping the channel and the Westminster Dog Show was on, and I thought to call Emily, and so she turned it on too, and we just sat there and watched the Westminster Dog Show talking on the phone. Definitely something I wouldn't have thought of in my life. And then the last thing, going back to things that aren't real, Emily and I used to play World of Warcraft together. And so Emily chose, and if you don't know what World of Warcraft this isn't going to make a lot of sense, and that's fine, but Emily chose to be a hunter. And when you have a hunter, you get a pet. And I'm sure everyone will be shocked that Emily's pet was a wolf. So that's all she did. I don't know if she was ever really great at the game, but I think she mainly just loved running around as a night owl with a wolf all the time. So, that said, so Emily's love of animals has ultimately what led her to meet Garrett through animals and all that stuff. And I'm going to get to that. So, Amy sends me a text. She's like, hey, I'm ready for you to meet my boyfriend. I have a new boyfriend. I'd like you to meet him. I was like, okay, well, and just so everyone understands, that's a big step on my side of the family. I've made it incredibly clear to my girls that I'm more than comfortable meeting their boyfriend the day I'm walking them down the aisle. So to ask ahead of time to meet them is a big step. So I tried to get a little information, and so I asked Emily, I'm like, so how did you meet this guy? I'm thinking I'll get some good information back. And she uses her amazing communication skills, and I can quote, I probably could go back and find this, her response was dog stuff. Okay? So that wasn't helpful. So I decided to do my research, and so I texted Veronica, because that just was the easiest thing for me to do. And she gave the approval. I was like, okay. So I doubled down and texted her sister Elizabeth, and got approval from her too. I'm like, wow. This dude must be amazing to get past that hurdle. So we met Garrett, and I think the first time we met Garrett, we went to Japanese barbecue. Is that correct? Had a good time, and I liked his sense of humor. I thought it was funny. I liked how he interacted with Emily and didn't put up with her stuff because she can be a handful. So very, very, did a great job and a quick impression. So obviously I approved of Garrett as well, and so did Lee. And then, I think it was December of last year, Emily just said, hey, are you guys home? I want to come talk to you. And so she said, I want to talk to you, so she came over, and she was like, hey, we're engaged. And thought, that's great, we like him, we approve of him, so we fully support that. Emily being Emily, in February, and I'm still a little mixed on if you did a good job at communicating this, but we'll eventually agree on that. But like 2 days before they're going to get married, I actually took the day off work and went to her wedding. She did not have a traditional wedding. She had a wedding at the Justice of the Peace. So once again, Emily did not follow a tradition, and that was fine. But we were happy to be there. So the main thing that I want you to know, Emily, is your life's journey has not been traditional. And that's okay. That's exciting, and it can be much more rewarding. It goes back to you being independent and not worrying about what everyone else thinks of you. And I love that. And so no matter what, I hope you know this up until this point, and then go forward, that your mom and I love you, Scott and Lee love you, and your extended family loves you, and we're always here to support you. With that said, Garrett, now that you're part of Emily's journey, that applies to you too. So You have a lot of people here that love you and are here to support you. So my last thing on here is the word congrats, but I've had something that I've been mulling over here, and I had a chance to run this by Scott, and he approved of this, so I need you to know something, Garrett. I don't need to give you details, and I don't need to tell you why, but there was a point in time when the girls were in high school that Scott and I got in the same car. We drove to someone's house to confront a father that had, in our opinion, inappropriately accused one of the girls of something. Luckily, he didn't answer the door, so it never escalated, but keep that in the back of your mind that we're here to support you, but we're also here for anything else, if appropriate. So, with that said, Emily and Garrett, congratulations. We love you.